Hello, good morning. Myself, Dr. Shivakumar Bisurapur, Associate Professor, Department of Education, Karnataka State Akkamadi Women's University, Vijaypura, Karnataka State. So, my details I had given you in my description. So, please refer the video and don't forget to subscribe. This is CTE course at IGNOU. In that CTE 01, that is a block CTE 01. In that unit 4 we are studying today. In the unit 4 we shall study learner factors in second language acquisition. In that cognitive style, personality, attitude and motivation. How these are the factors, how these factors are they play the role in second language acquisition. I mean the role of all these factors in the second language acquisition. So now let us see what is cognitive style. It refers to an individual's typical way of organizing his or her universe and reflects his or her personality or preference and not his or her ability or intelligence. For example, two boys, Anwar and Kanwal, look at two different kinds of cars, but their responses are quite different. Anwar thinks of how comfortable each car is, whereas Kanwal comments on each car's engine, its capacity, and how each car is designed differently. These responses of Anwar and Kanwal show that Anwar focuses on the usefulness of the car and Kanwal on the technical aspects. The former, therefore, is a functionalist and the latter an analyzer. Both the responses reflect different styles of learning or cognitive style. Types of cognitive styles: field independence versus field dependence. Researchers have broadly identified three different cognitive styles, which they call field independence or field dependence, reflections, reflection impulsivity, and categorization styles. The cognitive style called field dependence is defined by a person who cannot consider an object or event separately from the context in which it appears. The context in which an object appears is its field. On the other hand, the field independent persons have the capacity to process information or consider an object or event independent of the context. For example, when a person with a field independent cognitive style looks at a painting, B has no difficulty in finding the central motif of the painting and relating the details to the central motif. Researchers have related this concept of field independence or field dependence to second language acquisition. So, second language learning acquisition. So, Scahan in 1989 noted that the field dependent persons would have greater communicative competence, greater conversational resourcefulness, greater negotiation skills, all of which should be beneficial for exposure to language and therefore to language development through interaction. One research group noticed that field independence helped the learners with conventional classroom learning. Another research group found a very significant relationship between field independence and performance on a French oral production test and on a French listening comprehension test. On the other hand, some other researchers did not find any significant difference in how much the learners spoke and how well they spoke among the learners with either the field dependent or field independent cognitive style. These and many other researchers suggest that there is at best a weak relationship between field independent cognitive style and second language learning. So next comes reflection impulsivity. What is reflection impulsivity? The cognitive style that refers to the degree to which children reflect upon a problem is called reflection impulsivity. One of the tasks used to find out whether a particular individual is reflective or impulsive is to ask him or her to choose a picture or design that is similar to the standard picture or design. This method is known as matching familiar figure test. So you can give number of pictures and ask the learners to comment on that. The learners who are faster and less accurate are called impulsive, and those who are slower and more accurate are called reflective. Researchers have shown that learners after the age of 11 are better able to answer with greater speed and more accuracy. The tendency to be reflective or impulsive is not fixed and therefore can be altered with training. So let us see categorization styles. The cognitive styles broadly called categorization styles refer to how an individual classifies or arranges information, things or objects. They have been subdivided into three types: descriptive, analytical style, categorical, inferential style, relational, contextual style. A descriptive analytical cognitive style concentrates on a single detail common to all objects. A categorical inferential style focuses on the class of objects, whereas a relational contextual focuses on a common theme or function. Each of these cognitive styles may have its effect on second language learning, though the field independent or field dependent cognitive styles has been explored in detail in relation to second language learning. Other cognitive styles need to be studied in detail in this context. It is felt that a difference in the cognitive style of a learner may make a significant difference in success in second language learning. So, hope you understood the cognitive style in connection with the language acquisition. So, let us see next part, personality. What the early research says on the role of personality. Let us see review of research on the role of personality. Several researchers, that to Peninsula et al. In 1964, Smart et al. In 1970, Bodge in 1974 have emphasized the importance of personality in foreign or second language learning. Peninsula et al. In 1964 compared average achievers and underachievers in high schools and noted that a successful learner was invariably found to have personality traits such as social conformity, extroversion, flexibility, and tolerance for ambiguity. Smart et al. In 1970, on the other hand, showed that higher achievers received significantly lower score on social spontaneity scale than others and were found to have introverted tendencies. Bartsch in 1974 found that introversion, soberness, and self sufficiency were strongly correlated with oral components of communicative competence. He further demonstrated that students with the traits of imagination, placidness, and low anxiety tended to score higher on the written components of communicative competence test. Genesee and Amayan in 1980 failed to find any positive relationship between personality variables and achievement. Even Strong in 1983, working on a group of kindergartners in a California school, did not find any relationship between a measure of extraversion and various measures of structure, so vocabulary and pronunciation of the target language. Similarly, extroverts learning a second language in a foreign situation may not have the same set of correlations with environment. Secondly, future research must also try to improve the definition of the trait constant as used in language learning. For example, a construct like extraversion may have certain meaning as it is used in psychology, but it may have a restricted meaning in second language learning. Thirdly, the instruments used to measure personality traits need to be more systematic and reliable. How is personality measured? Let us see how personality is measured. Personality traits in a person have been elicited by psychologists in a number of ways. Most commonly, a questionnaire consisting of several statements is given and the subject is asked to agree or disagree with them on a 5-point scale, ranging from not at all, so for this score is 1 to very often for this score is 5. The aggregate score on the statements is regarded and score for all for the trait measured. Not all traits are assessed by agreement or disagreement to verbal statements. For example, in the technique called thematic appreciation test, that is in short form it is called as TAT. The subject is presented with a number of pictures usually of people involved in somewhat ambiguous situations and is asked to write a story about each. So this is about personality. Next comes attitude. What is attitude? According to Alport, in 1954, he stated an attitude is a mental and neural state of readiness organized through experience, exerting a directive or dynamic influence upon the individual's response to all objects and situations with which it is related. In operational terms, an individual's attitude is, according to Garner in 1985, an evaluative reaction to some referent or attitude object inferred on the basis of the individual's beliefs or opinion about the referent. Next comes review of research on the role of attitudes. The nature of attitude of a second language learner can vary from the attitude towards the teacher or the language itself or the group that speaks the language. It may also refer to more general dispositions such as ethnocentrism, authoritarianism, or anomie. Attitudes towards learning the second language and the second language community have received more attention than other factors in second language research. Some researchers support the belief that measures of attitude towards learning a second language and the second language community correlate significantly with achievement. So, Spolsky in 1969 argues strongly that one of the most important attitudinal factors is the attitude of the learner to the language and to its speakers. In an investigation of 315 foreign students from 80 different countries living in the USA, he found significant association between the perception of similarity between self and English speakers and grades in English. Similarly, Aller, Hudson, and Liu found achievement in the second language correlating highly significantly to evaluative reactions to the target language group. So, Bastall in 1975 quotes several studies which show a positive correlation between attitudes and achievement. Research in second language learning has also shown that success or failure in a second language is also related, though weakly, to general disposition of the learner, such as ethnocentrism or authoritarianism. Garner and Lambert believe that learners who have strong ethnocentric or authoritarian attitude or who have learned to be prejudiced towards foreign peoples are unlikely to approach the language learning task with an integrative outlook. Authoritarianism refers to anti-democratic feelings and is generally increased and it is measured through respect for authority, use of force, nationalism, etc. Agreement or disagreement with some of the following statements may elicit the second language learner's authoritarian democratic disposition. In that, number one, children should always obey their elders. Second one, eve teasing or rape is a serious crime. The culprits should be hanged in public. Number three, if people would talk less and work more, everybody will be better off. Fourth one, what young people you need is strict discipline and the will to work for the country. Ethnocentrism, on the other hand, refers to people who suspect foreign people and ideas and is generally measured through attitude towards the foreigners, preservation of nationality, respect for national symbols, etc. Agreement or disagreement with the following statements can elicit second language learners' ethnocentric tendencies. In that, number one, certain people who do not salute the national flag should be punished. Second one, India is surrounded by enemies on all sides. We should strengthen our armed forces very fast. Number three, epics greater than Ramayana and Mahabharata cannot be written. Fourth one, Indian women are chaster than women elsewhere in the world. Gardner and Lambert in 1972 examined the influence of these dispositions in learning a second language in Maine and Louisiana and Connecticut and Philippines. It is only in the Connecticut study that authoritarianism was found to have significant correlations with achievement variables other than listening comprehension. In Maine, the ethnocentric syndrome is not directly related to any of the French achievement measures. Some unsolved issues are there, which are you will see. Research on the relation between attitudes towards the target language and achievement in it has raised several issues. It has been found that attitudes towards learning languages are more related to language achievement than attitude towards any other school subject. Further, some aspects of attitude are more highly related to language achievement than others. Some research has shown girls to be better second language learners than boys. Attitudes have also been found to be influenced by the students' upbringing. Attitudes towards the target language vary from one geographical area to another. Some research has shown that attitude towards learning a second language becomes less positive with age because learners become more mature and aware. It is also noticed that as learners grow older, the correlations between the attitudes towards the target language and achievement grow higher, though less positive. Research has also shown that the learners who had more exposure to the target language also had more exposure to the target language speakers. So it has also shown that the learners who had more exposure to the target language also had more favorable attitude towards it. So these are the things which are related to the attitude. So keep in mind the attitude, which is very important factors playing in second language acquisition. Now let us see motivation. What is motivation? The term motivation in the second language learning context is seen according to Garner 1985 as referring to the extent to which the individual works or strives to learn the language because of a desire to do so and the satisfaction experienced in this activity. The desire to learn the language or favorable attitudes towards learning the second language do not reflect motivation in and of themselves. The individual may wish to learn the second language and may enjoy doing it, but if this is not accompanied by a striving to do so, then it is not motivation in the real sense. It is only when the desire to learn the second language and favorable attitude towards it are linked with the effort or drive to achieve it. Then we can say that the learner is motivated. Then second point which are very important is types of motivation. Gardner and Lambert in 1959 and 1972 respectively have done pioneering work to explore the nature of motivation specific to language study. They built on Mauer's, who was Mauer's in 1950, who stated that the concept of identification, which is the tendency of the child to imitate the parent in the first language development. They considered the extent to which people esteem and want to identify with not only particular individuals but also foreign peoples. Garner and Lambert suggested that those people who identify positively with the target language group would like to resemble the target language group, understand their culture, and be able to participate in it. This pattern of motivation they call an integrative orientation. Garner and Lambert contrasted this orientation with instrumental orientation, which is characterized by utilitarian objectives such as the obtaining admission in a particular course, professional advancement, and so on. So let us see integrative motivation. In order to elicit these motivation orientations, statements such as I am studying English because it will help me to mix with English people. It will improve my personality. It will help me to better understand English people. It will help me to read and understand and appreciate English literature, music, and films. So, what is instrumental motivation? Another term, another concept. See, let us say example here. I am studying English because it will help me to get a good job. So, it will help me to become a better educated person. So, it will help me to get a degree. It will help me to travel anywhere without any difficulty. So, language acts as a instrumental while motivating the children. So let us see what other researchers tells. Review of research in this regard. Motivation. Garner and Lambert in 1959 and 1972 stated, as I told a couple of seconds ago, showed that success in a foreign or second language learning is likely to be less if the underlying motivational orientation is instrumental rather than integrative. Burstall in 1975, however, pointed out that this hypothesis was examined in the course of NFER evaluation of the teaching of French in primary schools and only a partial support to the view put forward by Garner and Lambert could be established. A study gave substantial evidence against the hypothesis that integrative motive was positively related to second language achievement. However, Khanna, Verma, Agnihotri, and Sinha did find significant correlations between the motivational orientations of ESOL learners in UK and the teachers' ratings of their English skills. These studies clearly suggest that a student may learn a second language with an integrative motivation or with instrumental motivation. What I given examples in a couple of seconds ago, or with both, or with some other motivation. Now let us see whether motivation the cause or result of success. Another question that has engaged the attention of second language researchers is whether it is the motivation that causes success or vice versa. Barstow, working with primary school children learning French, came to the conclusion that it is the achievement which is primary and motivation the consequence. Hermann in 1982 argued that it was degree of success within the instruction which had produced the different motivational orientations. Similar results have been reported by other researchers. However, Garner in 1985 asserts that there is no evidence that differential success influences attitudes and motivation. In the absence of any conclusive evidence about the direction and nature of relationship between motivation and success, more in-depth research is needed which monitors levels over time in some detail rather than takes the snapshot approach through test administration at the beginning and end of the courses. So this is about motivation, and the instrumental motivation plays a vital role in acquisition of foreign language, as we came to know with some of the examples. So keep in mind the all this aspect while we are sure that you all know the students quite well. The students who are learning foreign language are quite well. The four, the 4 minutes, whatever you have heard in the previous um, videos, all are focusing on the foreign language acquisition. So let us see some of the concept what we used in the discussion, that is about ethnocentric. What is this ethnocentric? The desire to interact mainly with one's own language group. People with such tendencies are convinced about the superiority of their own culture and language. What is field dependent? We have discussed this in this video. Field dependent learning style in which a learner tends to look at the whole of a learning task which contains many items. Field independent, a learning style in which a learner is able to identify or focus on particular items and is not distracted by other items in the background or context. So motivation, we know that the desire to learn a second or foreign language, and the effort used in learning it. Two types of motivation are sometimes distinguished. Instrumental motivation. So what is this instrumental motivation? Desire to learn a language because it would fulfill certain utilitarian goals such as getting a job, passing an examination, etc. We have seen the examples for instrumental motivation in a couple of seconds ago in this regard. So integrative motivation, another type is very important. Desire to learn a language in order to communicate with people of another culture who speak it. The desire is also there to identify closely with the target language group. So what is target language? The target language is the new language which a person is learning. So please keep in mind the motivation, the intelligence, the age, sex plays a vital role in foreign language learning. So whenever we come across the foreign language learning, intrinsic motivation plays a vital role in acquiring the foreign language. So we got motivated by seeing the other speeches, or by motivating with their speech, or by motivating with the culture of the tone of that language, and that motivates us to speak the language. We, so sometimes we are enforced by the environment to learn, but the taste of that language seems to be inborn in everyone, so that we'll learn and we'll taste the language very interestingly. So language acts as an instrumental in learning the other language. So like this, intelligence, age, sex, motivation, attitude, aptitude, and all these factors are very important in acquisition of a foreign language. So these factors motivate us to learn the foreign language. As we love our own mother tongue, we have to cultivate the habit of a taste in foreign language. Love in native language, love in mother tongue and taste in foreign language will enhance the learner to acquire more information in the language acquisition. So, you people should cultivate the habit of reading the newspapers and reading the journals and watching the English news so that it helps you to get motivated by all the factors. I mean, speech pattern, sound pattern, phonemic and phonetic and accent. All this will help you people to acquire the foreign language. So foreign language is very interesting and easy. Once you adopt the habit of speaking the foreign language, you will get a lot of interest. You will enrich with a lot of interest to learn the foreign language. Hope you have got the information. So please wear the mask and maintain the social distance, and don't forget to subscribe this YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and enjoy the videos by learning the more things. More information in upcoming videos. Thank you.